Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is Friday, September. It is Friday. No, it's Thursday. Thursday, September 16th. And not only that, but I'm coming to you from the Gold Room, and I apologize, everybody, for that. It's just how it is, and yes, it's another day, another hotel, and so there's some beds behind me and stuff. But today's actually a good day because we have some news that came out that we're going to highlight, and it has to do with our old friends jump trading, whom I've dealt with for a number of years now in crypto, but they're outing themselves and how deep they actually are. And so CJ's going to break that down for us. Really excited. And then, of course, we have our crypto analysis from Monte and CJ, our crypto analysts over at MarketRebellion.com, as we continue to guide and educate everybody through the slow, meandering start of this bull run. So without further ado, let me clear it up by saying that everything we talk about, Market Rebellion, Trade the Chain, Monte, CJ, myself, is just to educate you and not financial advice. So bear with us and let's get to it. What do you got? Opening remarks, CJ and Monte, and not making fun of me and this Gold Room, please.
Thank you for that intro, Gold member. Looking forward to getting into the charts, discussing jump and all the other things in the crypto space today.
Yeah, also, I'm pretty sure yesterday someone in the comments said they came up with a new drinking game. Every time Alex gets the day or the date wrong, they drink. So take a drink.
Take a drink. Yeah, I'm not doing so hot. I never actually have. So whatever.
We better get into the charts.
I look like I'm in The Shining. Thank you.
All right, let's start here at the 4-hour time frame because we have come down a little bit in Bitcoin here. So something that was very interesting and led to a lot of this bullish price action that we've seen, I believe, was a breakout from the symmetrical triangle, kind of a pennant formation following our large liquidation yesterday, or last week, I should say. However, ever since we got kind of up until one of these TD sequential nines, I don't have the sequential indicator added to the chart currently, but there was one that occurred around this general region. At that particular point, we started to see the CCI turn down. We also saw some diminishing returns in the MACD. So, it's nice that we're getting a wick off of some of these levels, but it still looks kind of neutral to slightly bearish in an intraday perspective. However, I think the daily chart and looking at the trend from a more broader structure, we're looking at a much more bullish picture in terms of what Bitcoin could create for us in these next coming days. And I am still, of the opinion that we will likely see a reaction rally to the 50K level, if not potentially the 52K level, our recent high. So we also have CCI turning up. We have the MACD starting to form a bullish cross. It looks like it wants to come back around if we are to see some continued bullish price action. So while the intraday technicals are, not the greatest, I think that the daily chart as well as the weekly chart still provide a really bullish picture in the overall macro trend and where we're going in the next couple of weeks. Something I also want to mention has to do with volume at price. So you'll see this indicator on the right side of our chart here. And each time we get these massive spikes in the red volume that you can see here on the right side, that is indicative of where the most volume in the trend occurred. So if we look at one of our previous lows, you can see this is where a tremendous amount of volume really occurred from this kind of general space right here. So the interesting thing is that we're actually able to flush break through that resistance level, back test it, flip it from resistance to support to start the new leg up. And I see us being in somewhat of a similar stage right now because although not as much volume at price has occurred, we're still running up on one of those resistance levels where a good amount of volume has occurred. So I think something that is potentially likely to happen or something that would be very constructive for the overall trend is if we were to do something similar to back here. In other words, flush break above that level and then flip the 50K level from former resistance to new support. At that point, really all that's holding us back from all-time highs is this final area of volume at price, which also perfectly lines up with our recent lower high that ultimately sent the trend down quite a bit. And that level really is the 60K level. So a couple things that means, if we are able to go to above 50K, there really isn't a lot of resistance in a $10,000 range. So you might see some really interesting price action if we are to go to that level. But I think we're seeing a lot of optimistic stuff based on the daily and weekly charts.
One bit of fun I want to have. One bit of fun I want to have real quick, CJ, is for everybody watching. If your end of year price for Bitcoin has changed, or even if you have never mentioned it before, put it in the comments. I'm curious to see where the consensus comes in on where people think BTC's price will close at the end of the year in approximately 3 months now. So just over.
Yeah, curious to see what our audience has to say about that. One thing I did want to share as well from a technical perspective on BTC, and it's actually fitting today given Alex's lighting, is the golden cross we're seeing here in Bitcoin. And for those of you who don't know, a golden cross is just when a shorter period moving average crosses over a longer period moving average. But typically it is followed by a period of bullish price action. And as you can see here, we got this 50-day simple moving average crossing over the 200-day simple moving average, which is, the most textbook golden cross you can get. It happened yesterday on this continued price action. And what's more is, I think it really sets up some nice support if you were thinking about entering a long trade here. CJ has talked a lot about kind of the merits of entering a long trade at this current point in time over the last couple of days. And I'm in complete agreement here. I think there's strong support to the downside and a clear price target to the upside here at about 52K. But I think really what's going to be most important for the crypto market in general is just seeing what happens with the sort of risk on attitude if Bitcoin does break above 50K. Right now, it's kind of feels like we're taking our feet off the gas just a bit here. We're seeing Solana cool down a bit finally after months of continued bullish price action. But I think that if Bitcoin is able to break above some critical levels here, get back up into that 50K range before ultimately making new all-time highs, that could be the catalyst to bringing on that risk on attitude and bringing back in that retail speculation that results in some really serious daily candles. So, Alex, I think it's very appropriate that you are in a nice golden hue today because golden cross, not a coincidence. I'd call it fate.
CJ, I interrupted you before. What were you going to add?
I just want to make a brief point on longer term holders and their spent outputs. So I didn't have the chart up before, but now I had the opportunity to go and pull it up. So I'll show that to you. This is a tweet coming from Will Clementi, very good analyst. Definitely worth a follow. Check him out. But essentially, this entity adjusted ASOL and having it on a 7-day moving average, this shows like longer coins or coins that have not been spent in a significant amount of time. And so we assume that that comes from longer term holders, or actually we know it comes from longer term holders. The assumption that we make is that longer term holders are generally more experienced and more wise when it comes to trading Bitcoin, just because they've been in the market longer. So we kind of use that as a gauge for the smart money or the more intelligent and informed market participants. So the thing that we can take from this is pretty interesting. And this orange line is where I want to draw your guys' attention, because during our uptrend, when we went to 40K and then 60, you can see these massive spikes in the amount of older coins that are getting spent. That's indicative of longer term holders who are distributing into the market as price returns higher. However, we've seen less and less of that over the course of our accumulation phase down to 29K. We saw a little bit of those coins actually starting to get spent, with our run up to about 52K or 50K. And, we saw some profit taking. Price came off just a little bit, but now we're once again starting to see these coins just maintain their downward trend. So entities are not spending their coins. Each day, these older coins are getting much more older. So ultimately, what we take from this is that the longer term holders, or the individuals who have been holding for a long time, are still sitting tight. And I think this shows investor intent. It remains bullish going into potentially the next month or the next 2 months as of today. But I always think that's pretty interesting. And that one was from Will Clementi. So definitely a good follow if you're on Twitter frequently.
Interesting enough. So a lot of positive price, predictions coming from the audience on Bitcoin, ranging from $70,000 to all the way up to $135,000. I know that it's actually not so different, some of those 100K plus numbers from earlier in spring, where a lot of us were saying, listen, we're looking at 125, 150, maybe 175. We go through this bearish cycle and people have adjusted downward to 100 to 135. So for me, not a big feeling move of where people's thought processes are. With you guys, where do you think we stand with the current momentum in the market? Is it going to be closer to the 70,000, or is it going to be closer to the 135, or do you have your own?
It's tough to say exactly where we settle down. I think all signs are pointing to the fact that we are experiencing a supply squeeze in Bitcoin. And I think that could lead to some serious volatility towards the end of the year. So I think we could definitely hit 100K, still on the cards, no doubt. But I think that settling around at, around 80K, I think is somewhat likely, because I think after we get that price action from Bitcoin and we move up into the 100K range, we will see some alts start to rally as well, with that risk on attitude that tends to come with it, like I mentioned. And I think Bitcoin will probably cool down at the 80 to 85K range. But I talked about this a little bit yesterday. I'm less inclined to look at a price and assume that this is the top. I'm going to be looking for the technical factors that we saw in May that in hindsight were indicative of a top, like the pi cycle top indicator, the Chaikin money flow turning down, and just lots of negative divergences across the board on the indicators while we continue to make higher highs. I think that would be an indication that the momentum is lost and that we are kind of topping. So I'll be looking for that. But in terms of price, I think 80 to 100K is still a very realistic estimate.
Monte, I couldn't have said it better myself, my friend. I think you hit on all the major points there. I think people, now that we have larger players and some institutions, I have a feeling people are going to take profit a little bit too early, which might lead credence to the concept of the super cycle actually coming through and breaking stock to flow to the upside. Nonetheless, I think the most important metric I'll be watching for has to do with pi cycle top. So,
yeah, really interesting how that came into play more and more as the year went on. One of the things that we spoke about, Monte was getting his teeth drilled yesterday at the dentist. But CJ, Rob from News Asset, and myself were on. One things we spoke about was different indicators that you need to take a look at to kind of stay ahead of the market from the traditional side. And we did bring up that China's largest housing development company that was on the brink of default, and it did officially default. It was announced by the Chinese government, even announced its defaulting. So it's going to be curious. Keep an eye on that, folks. See if that turmoil spreads out of China, and if it does, then you're going to start wanting to take a look at the S&P 500 and where the other markets go. So, okay, thought you were going to say something, CJ. You had me fooled.
No, I'm thinking that the long-term bears are probably loving that bit of news, hoping for the end of the world. But it's an important story. We'll follow it closely, and I think the ramifications could be very interesting not only on the traditional markets, but also on crypto. So not completely concerned just yet, but it's definitely something we're going to watch very closely. Alex, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about these defaults?
I would say I'm really at the bottom of the meter right now. I think the biggest concern is going to see if it does seep out of the borders of China and the financial systems, and it goes into whether it's ours or in other countries. But as long as it stays contained within China, I'm not going to be concerned. Just keeping an eye out. But hey, one of the things when we started hearing that news that I was really excited about is the fact that miners got out. Crypto companies got out. So that provided some positive effect as far as I'm concerned. Okay, let's go to jump trading. I mean, these are the titans of the house. They're in your neighborhood. They're Chicago boys. They're part of the Chicago outfit. And, folks, if you haven't heard of Jump Trading, they're a large trading firm out of Chicago, offices all over the world, but on the traditional side. And so they started seeping into crypto quite a ways back, actually doing some market making and things like that, along with the likes of Cumberland, who's another big outfit out of Chicago. And now they've kind of, taken off the kimono and revealed how deep they are. So it kind of goes, listen, I'm in a golden room today. I can say just about anything within reason. But they've gone from market making to maybe a few little venture investments. But CJ, tell us how deep their fingers are running.
They're deep in DeFi. And I might have to get you a custom Trade the Chain logo kimono or something if Cent token keeps going up here. But I digress. Let me get to the article at hand by The Block from our good friend Frank Chaparro. Oops, sorry. Okay. Anyways, this is not the article. Let me pull it up.
As he searches for that article, there's a few questions on Vegas. What's in Vegas in 1 week? I'll tell you what's in Vegas in 1 week. It will be Voyager, Trade the Chain, and Market Rebellion all on the same track, all at the same time, seeing who beats the other one, because that's what manly sports do. So Vegas next Friday. I'm not politically incorrect here. I'm still within the lines. Vegas is next Friday. The race is going to be exciting. If you're going, drop a note if you're going to be in Vegas next weekend for the race. Definitely want to see who is. So I know there's going to be a couple parties going on, and would love to see everybody.
Yeah, I hope you have a really good time at that, Alex, and best of luck to the Trade the Chain car. So what we have
Market
here,
Rebellion has a car, I'm just saying you guys have a car.
Oh yeah, I know. We'll be head to head. Just wanted to be a gentleman and give you the good send off. All right, so jump trading here. We had been hearing rumors for quite a while now that they had been heavily involved in Solana, as well as some of FTX's ecosystem, and even a potential liquidity provider for Voyager. They are one of their partners as well. But I thought the most interesting thing about this particular article was that it clearly states, Jump is very active in the Solana ecosystem. They're an LP for FTX's decentralized exchange Serum. So Serum is a very low-key asset in terms of a lot of the overall space, but it's emerging now as the primary decentralized exchange within the Solana ecosystem. And the fact that they have the quality of a liquidity provider such as Jump, I think just really bodes well. We always, Rob always talks about betting on people. We always talk about how important it is for projects like this to have institutional backing. And, you know, Jump, I cannot stress it enough how big and important a firm it really is. You know, it kind of flies under the radar because the founders and the CEOs, they're not, you know, they operate very quietly and behind the scenes. Whereas, you know, it's very different from like a Ken Griffin at Citadel. But both of those two firms are very dominant, and they're both, you know, right out of Chicago, and they're titans of the space. So if you go and you can check out jumpcrypto.com to learn a lot more about their operation, but they're not just doing trading, they're doing a lot of like venture capital as well. So I would go over here and to Jump Crypto, and I would look at, you know, all of these projects. I was really interested that they're partnered with Chili's, as well as Luna and, you know, the Terra Alliance and whatnot. And then you can see Serum, 0x, obviously we talked about Solana, but all of these projects, if there is a way to get exposure to them, I would take them very, very seriously because, you know, after watching what Solana has done, I think that, you know, they definitely are driving a lot of developments in the space.
Yeah, if you have Jump Trading as an investment partner, it's golden. Big name to have behind you. So I didn't even realize I said that, CJ. Stop laughing at me. Very cool. Well, any closing thoughts, remarks? No.
Not much. Where are you headed tomorrow, Alex?
Tomorrow there will be no show. I will be on the road to Bristol, Tennessee, to the NASCAR race. You know, I mean, a lot of people think it's just fun and games over here, but it's not. I would say race day is one of the busiest business days of the week that I have. So a lot of stuff going on. But then back to Puerto Rico, and then back to Vegas. So
Must be tough.
Let me tell you something. I'm really tired. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really tired. And Saturday night, I fell asleep in an empty airport at 1 a.m. and woke up with like a couple hundred people around me waiting for their planes. So yeah, it's I'm tired.
Well, rest up, Alex. Take care of yourself. We need you.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for putting up with my background today. And I know, you know, you guys come here to hear all the good insights that we bring. But no show tomorrow, folks. So we'll have to get through the weekend. Hang on to your handlebars. We're going to see you Monday from our hometowns on Nobody's Traveling. And hopefully we'll have some more exciting stuff to you to give you. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you later.